and welcome back to the Irish Hunting Podcast, the number one place for your hunting, fishing and country sports stories from around the world. Stick on the kettle, crack open a beer, pull up the feet, relax and enjoy. Hello, and welcome back to episode 124 of the Irish Hunting Podcast. New rifle and notions. Anto's at it again. He's picked up his new rifle, a 30-06 Blaser R8 Ultimate Success. He talks through his rifle application, the rifle build, the financial implications, and the backlash. This episode of the podcast was brought to you by Game Cooling Ireland. For all your game cooling and game prep needs, visit gamecooling.ie. Enjoy this one, folks.
We're live now.
Are we live now?
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm alive or not, man. My legs are shaking.
We're just out of Lakelands.
Yeah.
Anto's after getting his new rifle and all the paraphernalia that goes with it. So what did you get? Talk to us.
Well, I'm now officially a Blaser wanker. Like you, buddy.
Like me.
I'm going over to the dark side. I would have sworn when I started shooting, no, look, grand, sure, rifles are rifle and all that kind of stuff. And then...
But you've used, on the last couple of years, you've used mine.
Yeah, look, when we were out on, target days and stuff like that, on the range and so on, I've had the pleasure of holding and using a couple of different Blasers now, so I kind of made the plunge back in October.
So talk to me, why make the plunge? What was the main reason?
Well, I suppose, look, I love, there's a couple of features that, the safety feature is a huge one for me, especially out here talking. Well, we had an incident years ago, almost an incident, where I always have my safety on, coming through the bush, check the gun, and we were after coming through the bush, and do you remember it?
I remember.
My face went white. Do you know what I mean? Because I normally grabbed the rifle, and I said to you, that's after, because I distinctly remember putting it on.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that kind of...
So what you were talking about was the decocker on the Blaser.
On the Blaser, sorry, yeah.
Like it's like a safety catch, but the weapon can't fire unless it's cocked.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's decocked, all the springs aren't engaged, so it cannot go off.
Can't go off.
And it's extremely hard to hit on and off, even for us.
Yeah.
So there's no way you're knocking that off.
You literally have to push down and push right up on the, what would you say, the engagement. There's obviously a term for that, but and then to decock it, you press down the heel of that and it slides back down against you. So it's pressurized against you. So that's a huge feature from my perspective.
Yeah. What else? Just safety.
There's safety. Then there's little things like that. The IC where you cock it now with the scope that I'm after getting. The illuminated red hot and it comes on. We'll talk about the scope in a second. That's another thing. The caliber, obviously, I was tying with a new caliber anyway.
Yeah.
And we've tied with the idea of 270 and then we went settled with the 30-06 after many discussions over many bottles of wine. And this is one of the things I'll talk about a little bit later in the podcast in terms of how I went about the rifle application, because I think we're getting a few emails and messages there at the minute about issues with firearms applications, how we find it, what we do, and with different elements, both in scopes and in rifles. So we'll talk about that a little bit in a second. And then obviously, look, the Blaser, right? I walked into that shop a couple of times and it's always gone back to, you had said to me about the wood. And the reasons we shouldn't go with wood. And obviously, look, you're looking at here the king of roughness when it comes to rifles and shotguns and so on.
Bet you'd be a little bit more precious.
I will be a little bit precious, more precious with this one, all right? But yeah, we took it off the shelf and both of us just went, wow. Do you know what I mean? The ergonomics of the thumb hole grip, which I love on my other rifle anyway, I now have that in a fantastic wood grade. The trigger. The trigger is, yeah, it's like hot knife in butter, is it? You know?
Yeah.
So there's that again, like that. There's numerous amount of little details. The barrel, it's that
new
diamond diamond glazed barrel or diamond glass barrel. It literally, the only thing that'll mark it. There's a video actually now was showing us where we got the barrel and hit off a piece of metal. The only thing that'll mark that is another piece of that diamond glass finish.
Yeah. So for me, it was things like they're cold hammer forged barrels. So the Lancet grooves, like they're tack drivers of a rifle. That and the interchangeability of the rifle is another big thing. Not that you're going to do it, but you have the fucking the option. You'll pay for the option. Do you know?
Yeah.
But you have the option.
So I can essentially buy interchangeable barrels
and bolt, depending on the caliber you're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might need a new bolt if it falls within the same. Let's say there's small, medium, and magnums. That's the way they're classified. And if you let's say you go for a 243, you don't have to change.
Yeah.
But if you jump up to a magnum, yeah, you'll have to change your bolt.
Yeah.
And your magazine insert. Not the whole magazine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's those options in that. Then there's the Blaser mount system, which is essentially similar to, well, not similar. It's its own system, but has a similar. I can take off that scope, zeroed, clean everything, put it back on. I'm still on zero.
A whole zero. And I can attest to that. I remember we were on the range, we were testing it, taking it on, off, shooting, and it holds a zero perfectly. Now, we sound like two absolute testicles because people will say, oh yeah, these are two snobs now with your Blasers. But I spent years with all sorts of rifles, and so did you.
Yeah.
But I suppose if you don't stay with your very first car, you want to get a better and better car, and this is just another iteration of that.
Yeah, it's a culmination of probably all of those things. Like I started off with a 6555 wooden stock sledgehammer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I like that. Does that do? Of course it does. You know, I went a little bit more sleeker and what would you say, finessed thumb hole grip. You know, just with cheap piece carbon fiber barrel in the last iteration of, and this is probably just everything that I've taken from all the different rifles that I've had the pleasure of shooting both here and abroad, and probably culminated in this gun. Will that change again? Look, I'd say
better not.
Better not, but look, over time, the technology and so on and so forth is improving all the time, and like what I have there now is a gun that will, please God, last me a lifetime.
The way I justified it to myself was that's a gun that you can pass down to your kids.
Yeah.
Do you know? And all the stories and memories with it.
There'll be a few of those.
You have to justify it somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is a hefty price tag with the Blaser brand. But I'll argue, near all their products, in fact, any products, even we didn't get, I'm going to call them mine, but they're ours. You got the new Blaser Binos. And I was amazed by how compact,
yes,
how light. It's a 10x42 magnification, and then the technology is just after moving on so much. You can have different profiles for different ammunitions in the, like, it spits back out your telephone number.
Yeah. So like, we're hoping that obviously we're firing two Blasers now. I can have a profile for you.
Yeah.
So if I'm spotting for you, even, do you know what I'm saying? I can be throwing you back when you're on the, like, because that's how many times that happened to us. Now we have another set of binders we're going to talk about as well. But so either one of us now can be spotting if a target's moving. You know, how often have you been where you're putting down the gun because it's after moving into the next piece of the field or dipping down and back up again or whatever, and you're constantly. So I think that's a very good feature. I can feed you back your clicks or vice versa.
Yeah.
Literally at that push a button.
Like even down to their shooting sticks. Again, pricey, but I'd argue they're the best shooting sticks I've ever had.
Without that, would the question I suppose I'd ask. I know the answer to this. It's rhetorical, but would you go away from your Blaser rifle? And the answer would be
no, I wouldn't.
So that's the thing, you know. And we put up a post yesterday. I was a bit misread by some people because the reason I asked the question, if I should have asked it probably different. It was phrased incorrectly, but if take money out of the equation, if you had a choice, what would you choose? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm after outlining some of the reasons. You know, I'm not saying money's not an object. I work damn hard. I put money by all season for that.
More than one season, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Probably 2, 3.
Yeah. So like, I'm going to keep the 6.5 55 just for my frocks and rough shooting at night time and all that
6.5 cream on.
Sorry, 6.5.
You're flustered now because you have to spend money.
I know, my mouth is dry. Everything's going wrong here, me now, you know. But so yeah, I'm going to keep that for a bit of foxing and lighter game shooting. You know, for argument's sake, it's a fucking horrendous day and I just want to throw something on the back. Yeah, exactly. You know,
the scope. What type of scope did you go for?
Went for the Blaser. It's actually
B1.
The B1.
Yeah,
it's a bit of history in the scope.
This scope is going to give you good luck. I'm telling you, because it's my old scope that I traded in. It's first focal plane. I traded it for that reason. My eye wasn't picking it up, and since then I've bounced around different scopes and top range scopes. I'm bouncing around, and I'm not happy with any of them. I would revert back to that scope in the morning.
Yeah,
or maybe I'd have to have a proper look at maybe the Zeiss, the V8.
The V8.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm just not happy. But I get like that. If I go take a turn on something, I ain't changing my mind.
Oh, I know, and it rubs off on me, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it's in Mills, which again we were having a discussion on the way down. It was a three-way between the V8, the Blaser, and the Schmidt & Bender. They were the three kind of options. We spoke actually about the issue that you're having with your Schmidt & Bender at the minute.
Yeah.
And that could be very well a glaze or a protection.
Coating on the lens, yeah. Which it didn't happen with the Blaser. It didn't happen with the Zeiss, in fairness to it. I didn't have that issue.
Because I said to you, I'll get caps for the scope, and you said, you will not need them with that scope. That's, you know, it's one of those. So yeah, that, again, the glass is beautiful. I've looked through that scope previous times, many's a time. And my mouth watered back when I used to look. And to tell you the truth, when you had said it to me, like, that scope has been there the last couple of times. I was saying, I was intentionally not saying because I thought you might go back and buy that, you know?
Yeah. It did cross my mind, but when I seen it, I actually said to you, why not go for that?
Go for that, yeah. Because the other alternative I had was the B2, which was a lower magnification. And again, I'm using a high...
Yeah, your magnification is 24.
Yeah.
So to drop down to a 15, the higher end,
yeah,
it's a big drop.
I would have been probably slightly disappointed, you know what I'm saying?
You would.
In the field. So now I have that. It's good glass. It has the illuminated rest feature, which I spoke about. And it's Blaser.
Blaser.
You know? So,
but it looks well when it's all matching. It's a beautiful looking, right?
Yeah.
Because we were sort of debating on the way down, we go for the B2 scope. But the problem with the B2 scope is it comes with a number of different rings, right? And it's for European shooting, where they're shooting out high seas and they're shooting close enough. Yeah. So one of those rings will match your caliber with your muzzle velocity near enough
to get you on the
to get you on an animal. But the problem we have on some of the terrain, and that's just the terrain we have to shoot a little bit further. So that being on near enough just won't cut it, because the longer you extend your range, the more of a difference it is between your clicks, and near enough just won't cut it, especially when you're thinking about the welfare of animals.
Yeah.
Do you know?
We just looked at the B2. It has a kind of a blank ring for marking.
Where you can write in.
Yeah.
Right? No problem. Now, you have to make your writing really tiny.
Yeah.
And I'd argue that you'd have to write it in, because it's a light coloured ring, nearly white.
Yeah.
You'd have to write it in dark. So low light conditions, one, you're not going to see that. Two, you're going to have to squish them all in, right?
Yeah.
Now, you change your ammunition, and your clicks are going to be all different. If you jump up to the super performance, it's going to be moving a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah. So that was a part of it. That form.
Can't believe you robbed me old glass.
I know, man. I do feel a little bit bad because I was the last day we were down there. I had looked at it, and I was it's like forbidden fruit. Like I was.
Why are you not saying to me?
No, because I was leaving it that.
It's like an ex-girlfriend you're trying to go out with. That's actually worse. Me glass.
Your missus.
I'd rather if you were mooching my ex.
Yeah, but look, one of us has it. That's all. That's the main thing. You know, it's back in the family.
Yeah.
All right.
So ammunition.
Yeah, we went for two. We chose two different brands of ammunition.
Yeah.
We went for specific reasons. We went Blaser.
It's brand new ammunition.
Brand new ammunition. And look, there's a good chance it'll go well, considering.
But if they didn't match
their
ammunition to their barrels, there's something wrong.
So that formed just a kind of a part of the reason there. And obviously then you're running Sacco yourself.
Yeah.
You found it group well with your rifle.
Yeah.
So again,
I just find that the Sierra Game King heads, look, they're well known to be a very, very accurate, slippery. They have a high ballistic coefficient. So if you're able to hold a tight group in close, and then you stretch a little bit of distance, and they have a good BC, you'll be on it's half the battle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's why.
So you're ticking a couple of the boxes already.
Yeah.
What else? We got
your moderator.
The moderator is.
I forget the name of it. But they're after making the Blaser mods. I can't even reach back.
Ultimate silence.
Is that what it's called? Don't kill us. We're driving at the moment.
No, I'm stopping.
Anthony
That's why.
Doesn't really like the rules of the road.
I am stopping. There you go. It's a Fryer and Devic. I knew I'd get that.
Ultimate silence. 3D. You were right.
Yeah.
Fryer and Devic.
So, yeah.
They reckon that these are, sure we'll test it, but they reckon that these are very quiet and one of the best of the
reduction of 30, David said 36 decibels, was it?
Yeah. Sure we'll test it.
Yeah.
Me overarching question. Are you happy?
Oh, look, I'm at the minute, it's always the thing, man. Has your deer got a temperature? We've got the solution for you. Visit gamecooling.ie for a full range of game cooling and game preparation solutions. And make sure to tell them we sent you. Like, you know the way when you've made a decision and then it's like when you buy a new car or something, you're like, oh, geez, it's not an investment, because it's obviously that you know what I mean, the value of it goes down or whatever. But on the other side of it, it is an investment. It's an investment in my number one pastime, you know, and I think I put it like this here, right? You've probably seen when I threw that over, I put the new sling on it. Again, it was Blaser sling.
We're going to sound like two
absolute look at, you know,
sausages.
I know what everyone's thinking, you know, and because I would have been one of them people, you know, oh, look at fucking, you know, Mr. Blaser, you know what I mean? But we held up a couple of slits, and it was down like, the wood is beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful grain of wood. And held up a couple of different slings, and you couldn't really not, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I threw it over my shoulder, and
I just kept on started looking at you every sling you put up to. I was like, I was just waiting for you to put up that one. I was like, there you go.
Yeah. So that's the answer to the question is that.
Yeah, even Niall, you went, which one, this green one or this one? Niall goes, you have to go with
that one. Yeah. So, and look at Niall stayed with us there for a good hour and a half while we were picking and choosing through some of the stuff, and I couldn't thank Lakelands enough.
Yeah, and look, they took their time. They fitted, so that saddle mount has to be a certain tension for it to be able to lock down and hold the zero, and then to set up that IC, there's a trick to actually linking the scope and stuff. So the boys took their time, and you're all set up, ready to rock.
And we're ready for zeroing, and Niall actually gave us a handy little trick, because I'm going to have to get a mount for my bipod, but in the meantime, this is a handy little tripod. It's only about 6 inches high.
Yeah, so you can use that for zero.
For zero, it'd be perfect.
We could do a couple of jobs in one go there.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk a little bit, if we could, just about the application, the rifle application. So
explain to me what you mean rifle application.
Just the firearms officer,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And again, like, we've had a couple of messages this week already in terms of night vision scope application, how you applied for yours, how I applied for mine, and did it take long, etc. And there's a couple of new applications going in there. So what I did back in October. So this is the thing. When you choose your obviously there's, if you go down to Lakelands there, you'll see the range of different variations in rifles. And then if you go for a timber stock, you have the choice of different grades. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
So there's all kinds of, you can bespoke. So that's why our rifle took just a little bit extra to get in. We picked a few different.
you can go as Gucci as you want on them, right? Like you can get whatever engraving, but with that, takes time.
Takes time. So that was back in October, and then the barrels came in. I originally was going to trade in my rifle, if you recall, and then I chose not to halfway down. So when the barrel came in, and I finally got my paperwork, I submitted a full one-pager with that, and I'm just going to read it, if you don't mind.
I don't have a choice because you're pulling it up.
Well, sorry, but so it's basically, to whom it may concern, I, Anthony Grogan, am applying for a firearm license for a 30-06 rifle with grain weight capacity of 125 to 220 grain for the purpose of hunting large game species such as red deer. I own 2 other rifles, a 2.2 for small game such as rabbits and foxes at close range, and under 50 meters. I went to in around farmyard poultry. And the reason I specified this in, people are probably asked, because I wanted to cover off any questions that the firearms officer may have. So in other words, I'm trying to cut questions off at the pass. Not because I'm trying to outsmart anyone, but these are genuine questions. If I was an FO sitting, that I would want to ask. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why would I want 3 rifles? You already have 2 rifles. So that's why, I explained in detail, I want 30-06 for large game, for red deer specifically. Not that a 6.5 won't do that job, but ethically, and especially, again, you spoke about some of the terrain. Now I have that rifle there more specifically for the deer species. My 6.5 is going to do my mid-range game, so it'll do wild boar, it'll do the smaller red deer, or smaller deer species. That's what I'm going to use it for. It will, of course, do the bigger deer species, but that's what I'm going to use it for now. And my fox at distance.
Yeah, and you don't know what the future holds. Like if we travel and go after bigger game, plains game, 30-06 is capable of doing it all, where the 6.5 I just think is lacking a little bit. In my personal opinion.
And again,
everyone has their own.
Yeah, well, exactly. Look, and then on top of that, we've also spoken, look, the dream is we go bear hunting, We are going to be there.
All right, that's Anthony's dream.
No, but that's, you should look at.
I know.
Somebody's going to have to come along. So, and that's what I said here, a 6.5 Creedmoor with maximum grain weight of 143 grain for medium-sized games such as Seek and Fallow and Foxes at large. So I went on to set out why I wanted each rifle. I went to the trouble of putting the grain weights of each, or the maximum grain weights of each one, and what that will accomplish. And then I went on to also say that I do travel to Europe. I have a European firearms license, a certificate for my other firearms, which I plan to utilise. And I also said then, as part of my local game club for the last 5 years, I'd ask you to look favourably on my application in line with my demonstration of responsible and experienced game hunting in Norway. So I've demonstrated over the last number of years, and in dealing with firearms officer prior, that they know that I'm not looking just to build an arsenal of firearms for.
Because any responsible FO will say, will that rifle not do the job
that you wanted to do?
Yeah.
As they're entitled to ask that question. I would ask that question myself.
Yeah. You were particularly lucky, in fairness. Your FO seems to, like, how long did it take you to get a license?
2 weeks.
2. That's extremely quick.
Yeah, I had a phone call basically just asking if you to clarify and feud out those issues. Yeah, perfect. I think actually I needed a copy of my driver's license on file. My wasn't. So yeah, that was it. Did that.
Right. I applied for the night vision scope. Like that, I did up a letter, sent it in. Then I rang a couple of weeks after that just to make sure that they had received it or it wasn't, because I have to submit it in one station, but they're actually based in another station. So I just want to make sure they got it. They have got it. There's no problems with it. It's just taking a little bit longer. And I suppose that's down to the work load maybe that the station is receiving. Every station is going to be different. Like the 2 lads that do mine are actually sound.
Yeah.
Like, really nice lads. They're on the ball, but it just takes me a little bit longer.
Well, of course, you're an ace. So again, that's there's a,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And I'm not saying, just no doubt, most of these applications are being dealt with by personnel who also have other duties. You know what I mean? So this is like, there's not a dedicated, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A singular, just to deal, which is probably what's required, but in fairness, with heavy workload.
I wonder, because the night vision falls under a restricted firearm, does it have to go through additional processes? That could be, I have no idea.
Probably, I would say. Probably.
I actually have a question. If your FO, what's that lady's name again? Antoinette is listed. Andy Henderson, Andy asked me a question, and would I ask it? And it's about, remember the last time I said about the day-night scope, and it can't, in fairness, Antoinette came back and said, no, can't be used to shoot deer, anything digitally assisted.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Some of the normal hunting scopes, or what are considered normal hunting scopes, have laser rangefinders built in. Are they digitally assisted? Can they be used?
Well, I think this is where technology and legislation are always going to be, because there's always going to be a moving target here, pardon the pun, from a legislative point of view.
Yeah.
You could argue an illuminated reticle is a digitally assisted scope, as we've done before in this.
Some binoculars read straight to your scope.
Yeah.
Is that allowed? I don't think that the people making policy are fully au fait with what's on the market or what's coming onto the market. Not the guards enforcing it, people who make the legislation. Yeah,
I would agree. I would agree that because what has happened is, again, the moving target piece is, the obviously by the time they make the legislation, get it through, get it passed, get it all, boxes ticked and everything, the technology has now already, like, you take technology since we started hunting in the last 5 years, since we started doing the podcast 3 years, the thermals and that technology is just, that's ramping on. Do you know what I mean?
Nothing like this existed
No.
when I started shooting.
So there you go. Then you had the kind of add-ons, you know what I mean? The clip-ons versions, which was like, the old Atari, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know, like being realistic, that was what it was like. So now, a scope, like if you take, we spoke about them there, the Blaser or the Zeiss, the V8.
Yeah.
Like literally, you're looking out across a field at last light. You can't see 40 meters with your eyeballs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the glasses come on.
You look through the Zeiss. It's like looking through, 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Now that's some sort of magic-y trick they've done with glass and the optics and funneling light into the scope. But you would argue, like, what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? I know the theory behind not using the day knife scope because essentially you can then switch to night vision mode and shoot it. But if you're going to do that, you're going to do that anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So you're punishing guys that will do things correct. You could argue the same thing with a car. A car is able to, like this car here is able to do 130 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying? Why don't you just cap them at 120? Which they don't, because they believe that
you're going to be responsible.
You're responsible,
Yeah. If you take it from a financial standpoint, if I was allowed to use my day and night scope to both go after my quarry, i.e. deer, and then go foxing, or if I had a section, then use the day, the night portion of it. That scope is 1,200, let's call it. Right?
Yeah.
Now I have to buy that scope and a day scope. And the normal glass day scopes are more expensive.
Yeah.
So now we've got to pay, I don't know, closer to $4,000 instead of $1,000. And for a new shooter starting out, that just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
And in the UK, you're allowed to do that.
And then you also have the additional items of mounts and, if you don't have a mount or a interchangeable mount that holds zero.
Then you need another gun.
You need another gun. So you're into this kind of whole... Yeah, I think we've met a problem that now on the other side of it, the day night scopes, man, they won't be as good as your day scope during the day. You're not going to get the clarity and you're not going to get the distance. But as you rightly said, for a shooter who's normally shooting in around 100 meters, they're going to be perfectly fine for that.
Yeah, and like we just spoke about, technology is constantly rocking on. Some of these day-night scopes now have got ballistics built into them, and the clarity is getting better and better.
Yeah.
Which means you laser tape it, and it'll give you a ballistic holdover.
Yeah.
So, technology is only moving one way. I just think policy needs to either stay in line with the market as it moves.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're punishing people. It's going back to the whole scopes debate anyway. I think that legislation was pushed through on the back of a worry and probably a lack of knowledge of what, and I mean that in with all the nicest of I think it was being driven by people who were watching too many movies. It's like the whole suppressors and moderators. We've a moderator for that rifle, which you will most definitely need. But there's a belief in some quarters that, it's a silencer. You can shoot guns and nobody. Oh, absolutely, somebody's going to hear you. And if you didn't have that, the ground would shake beside you.
And you're going to get people saying, "Oh, you don't even need." So a suppressor or moderator, whatever you want to call it, isn't just to reduce noise. Yes, that's one of its functions. Its other function is to take the recoil out of the rifle. So where that comes in handy, especially for new shooters who are only getting into it, the lower the amount of recoil on a new shooter reduces the amount of bad habits that they will pick up from flinching and squeezing at triggers. So I would nearly suggest every gun should have a moderator, or you should nearly be made get a moderator for your own hearing, for the reduction in recoil on shoulders, and for the reduction in noise.
For picking up, how many times have you even with moderators on, you'll get a bit of a
Muzzle
flip, and then even marking your quarry. You know what I'm saying? When that animal's after dropping, if you have a big recoil and the rifle goes up air and comes back down again, then you're trying to find, where did that animal drop?
It's not even drop. Did I even hit that animal?
Correct.
Because you can't even see
it in
the reaction of the deer. So there's lots of different reasons. We're after going on a mad downer there. We're supposed to be celebrating your rifle.
No, I think that's part and parcel of it. We'll celebrate the rifle anyway.
Yeah.
But again, a huge shout out to the lads in Lakelands. Do you know what we're actually chatting just before we go. Two people who we had the honour of chatting to today was Carlo Rossini. And for anyone who doesn't know Carlo, just have a little look at him online. The man has shot in 43 different countries. He's more titles than I have wasted bullets. And a gentleman. An absolute gentleman.
Did he shake your hand?
Yeah.
Did you big hands on him, man? You break your hand.
My hands ain't small, right? No. But mine disappeared in that man's hands. Very impressive man, and he's hopefully going to come on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah,
he'd be a good one to have on.
Yeah, brilliant. And another man we were chatting to is man. We might have to get brain freeze.
While you were having brain fog, this has happened twice.
I know.
It's happened to me more and more. I think it's the older we're getting. It's Alzheimer's. But I want to give a shout out to Paul Callan's friend, who we're going to hopefully have on, Casey. Casey from the States.
Yes.
Yeah. So he listens to the podcast, and we're going to have a chat about just the differences and the different styles of hunting between here and across the water. And I'd be interested in finding out their whole tagging system. Can the likes of us travel to the States by getting Alex, is who you're talking about?
Yes. I knew
something to pop back into my head.
Not mad.
Yeah. But Casey, we will have you on, so we're going to touch base with you and hopefully have a good conversation.
Yeah, and there's a couple of people. There's a few things coming up. Actually, I just want to give a quick shout out. The Irish Spring Angling Fair.
Yeah.
I'm actually away in Manchester that weekend. I don't know whether you and Sean.
I'm not going without you. Well, what is it? It's just the fair. It's just
fly fishing. I think there's shooting simulators and stuff down there as well.
Oh.
And there's fly demonstrations. There's stuff for kids. That's it. So I'm after throwing it at you.
I say I'll see when it's on. I'll see if I'm allowed out.
If you're allowed out. There's also the Rosenallis Gun Club are running a youth day. And again, we want to have a little bit of a shout out to that.
I think it's great, all the youth development. It's
brilliant.
That's starting to take off.
It's brilliant. There's plenty happening there for young people. And Conor MacDonald actually reached out. And again, if I haven't done it on the last podcast, I want to congratulate him on his new position as youth development officer for Ireland. He's the head man in youth development now in the NARGC. So, and no better man. It's already started. He is on fire, this man.
Is he?
Yeah, he's good. He's driven and hugely enthusiastic about youth development. So, really excited. Can't wait.
Yeah.
To see what comes out of that.
While we're giving people shout outs, Gary, I'm not going to mention the second name. Gary from the prison service is what I'm going to call him. So when we were out in schools doing our own youth development, one of the teachers said that she couldn't get anyone in to deal with the kids in St. Mark's. She was finding it very, very hard to get people in, and she'd love like sniffer dogs to come in.
Yeah.
So I volunteered like a gun dog.
Yeah.
Like demonstration, and she said yeah to that. So we're going to have to do that now that I've said it. But just by chance, I know the lads over the dogs in the prison service. So I sent them a message. I got a phone call back. That's no problem at all.
Brilliant.
Hey, brilliant. We're going to go into the school.
That's brilliant. Like, because that was one of we rounded off the trip last week, which we were going to do the podcast on anyway, with a trip to St. Mark's, and it was brilliant. It's brilliant to see all the kids. I think it's one of them things where you get out of what you put in, and this goes far beyond any kind of praise or money or any of that type of stuff. It's really is a rewarding thing, and a huge thanks to Neil as well.
And it's not like the kids were delighted to see the birds and stuff. The teachers, I would argue, were more excited.
Isn't that what one of the teachers said? Actually, just isn't it?
They'll remember days like this. They
Yeah.
won't remember days where I'm banging on about history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of summed it up,
Yeah.
So now we're off now to
Have a sneaky little point.
have a sneaky little pint and talk about this
The big mistake, Anto.
this piece of art they're after. Yeah, and as I say, Alex Lebekis, I am sorry, I had brain fog there. But it was a huge honour to meet Alex as well. I'm a great fan of his social media stuff. It was a great job down in Lakelands and for Blaser, of which now I am part of this esteemed company.
Yeah, but Alex is a Blaser rep. Alex, buddy, hook us up.
If you have any stuff there you want to throw this way, no problem. But in the meantime, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, he's a gent. He's a gent. Yeah, a really good guy. So, yeah, we had a great time down there.
Yeah. So
Met loads of famous people. You got a new shirt?
I got a shirt.
Yeah.
I threw in a deal on Anto's deal for a shirt, but he only had my size. So I said,
There
yes,
you
thank
go.
you.
So I bought a rifle and Rob got a shirt.
Happy enough.
Good stuff.
Over and out.